Hello, how are you? After a long break, we meet again. This is Hina from Team Vallath, and we are starting with capsule summaries of another unit, American literature. Here it is. How was your net exam? How did you do it? I hope it went well. Okay, so today we're starting with the play called A Streetcar Named Desire. This is literal as well as figurative. There is a streetcar in this play with the name Desire, and there is desire in all of us, which actually takes us from reality to fantasy sometimes, from fantasy to reality. Oh, this desire, this innate desire inside us, it forces us to do things, etc., etc. This is what we shall know in today's capsule summary. Play A Streetcar Named Desire, written by Tennessee Williams, an American playwright and a screenwriter who lived from 1911 to 1983. And let me tell you his cause of death. He died after choking on a bottle cap. This is literal. He choked on a bottle cap and died. Tennessee Williams. And this play, A Streetcar Named Desire, was first performed in the year 1947. The setting of the play is New Orleans, America. And if you talk about the time span or the year when this was taking place, the entire scene, it was in 1940s. Okay, let's talk about the major characters of the play. We shall do it just like, we're seeing it on a stage. Let's think that there's a stage here and I'm telling you the characters sitting. Okay, so on the stage you see a house. It's a shabby house, a dirty house, and a couple lives here. The name of the couple: Stanley Kowalski and Stella Kowalski. Stanley is the husband, Stella is the wife. So let's start. Stanley Kowalski and Stella Kowalski are a couple who live modestly in a shabby flat in New Orleans, America. Stanley is an alpha male. What does that mean? He shows his emotions only through actions. He hits or caresses his wife according to the situation. He does not know how to speak, okay? He only speaks through actions. This man, Stanley, he's masculine, he's strong, he's physical, he's throwing his towel here and there, he's shouting abuses in the entire play. He's a very rough man. Stanley is a rough man. On the contrary, Stella, Stanley's wife, is a calm and a caring person. She's a perfect foil to Stanley's masculinity, okay? She's that calm character. Stanley is that rough character. She has chosen Stanley for love over her past aristocratic background, and she has no qualms about it. In fact, Stella is pulled towards Stanley because of his strong magnetic personality. So, do you understand the background of these people? Stella belongs to an elite class, but she chose Stanley, the modest person from a humble background, because of love, sexual desire, because of this physical attachment. Okay, did you understand? Now, entry of another girl called Blanche Dubois or Dubois. Blanche Dubois, aged 30, is Stella's older sister. She has come to stay with Stella after losing her job as a teacher in Mississippi. But what is the real reason? She had sexual affairs with young boys. Can you imagine? Blanche married a young boy at 16 who committed suicide when she discovered that he was a homosexual. He was a gay. And when Blanche encountered this, he committed suicide. And she married at a tender age of 16. After this, Blanche lost her ancestral home of Belle Rive due to heavy mortgage and an unbalanced lifestyle. Are you understanding what is the history of Blanche? Stella's sister, she thinks of herself very highly of the elite class, but she has nothing. She has lost her ancestral house of Belle Rive. She has lost her homosexual husband because of suicide. And all this has brought her on the verge of nervous breakdown. She has become a luscious, a promiscuous woman more than ever. She does love her sister Stella, that's for sure, but she despises Stanley, her brother in law. Now, she arrives at her sister's house. Okay, here is the scene. Blanche has arrived, and Blanche says in a fading southern belle accent, belle means girl. She's trying to show how delicate and how feminine she is. Okay, so she tells Stella how she came to their house. They told me to take a streetcar named Desire and then to transfer to one called Symmetries and ride 6 blocks and get off at Elysian Fields. Did you understand? She's saying that she took a taxi, a streetcar named Desire. Then she went to another called Symmetries. Then she got off at Elysian Fields to come to her sister's house. Now, look at Blanche's dressing style. She's dressed in all white. She has intricate jewelry. She tries to appear delicate. She flutters like a moth throughout the play. She drinks heavily like a wild cat. And she sings a song again and again. The name of this song is Paper Moon. And she flirts with men around. For example, in one of the scenes in the play, she's talking to a newspaper boy of a newspaper called as Evening Star. So a newspaper boy has come to their house. And Blanche looks at this newspaper boy of the Evening Star and says, "Young man, young man, has anyone ever told you that you look like a young prince out of Arabian Nights?" Can you imagine? And there's a time when the newspaper man says that I just had cherry soda. And she becomes very luscious with that name. She says, "Ooh, cherry soda." Are you understanding the character of Blanche? I'm trying to portray her, okay? Now, Blanche informs Stella and Stanley separately about the loss of Belle Reve. Understand here, Belle Reve is equally the inheritance of the two sisters, okay? It is as much as Stella's, but Blanche has lost it. Blanche has lost their inheritance, okay? But she blames Stella for leaving her elite class to stay with the Pollock. Pollock is a derogatory name she's using for Stanley throughout the play. She addresses Stanley as Pollock. That's a derogatory name, okay? But Stanley blames her. Stanley blames Blanche for throwing his wife Stella, who is pregnant now out of inheritance. Did you understand? So Stella is pregnant with Stanley's child, okay? Now, Blanche feels she has seen her sister and the husband's relationship. So Blanche feels that Stella and Stanley's relationship is primarily based on sexual chemistry. Yet, still, she also falls for Stanley's masculinity. Can you imagine? She tries to flirt with her brother-in-law while in the kitchen alone. And there's a quote, during this flirtation. The narrator says, "Since earliest manhood, the center of Stanley's life has been pleasure with women, the giving and taking of it, not with weak indulgence dependently, but with the power and pride of a richly feathered male among, male bird among hens." Do you understand? He's been compared with a male bird, a rooster among female hens. He tries to show his physical attitude, his masculinity with women, okay? Now, the scene changes. It comes to night. You see night on the stage, okay? So there's night. The house is Stanley's house again. Stanley and his friends are drinking and playing poker. Here, one of his gentleman friends called as Mitch. The complete name of Mitch is Harold Mitchell. So Harold Mitchell or Mitch is one of his gentleman friends. He catches Blanche's eye and how it is among two youngsters. They start, looking at each other, giving each other those glances of flirtations. And of course, she reciprocates those flirtations because she is a flirt. You know it. She's luscious. She's promiscuous. Now, while the scene is happening, the poker is on, and Mitch and Blanche, they are looking at each other. There is a naked light bulb in the kitchen. In the kitchen, the poker game is going on, and there's a night bulb which is naked. It does not have a cover on it. So Blanche has a paper lantern. She hangs a paper lantern on this naked light bulb, and she says in a very feminine manner, "I can't stand a naked light bulb any more than I can a rude remark or a vulgar action." What does that mean? I cannot stand anything rude or anything vulgar. Same way, I cannot stand this naked light bulb. Let me cover it with the paper lantern. And she covers it. Do you understand it? Seeing all this, Stanley, who is playing poker, irritated, the rough guy of the play is very irritated. He shouts at Blanche, saying that you are disturbing our poker game. But to irritate him further, Blanche turns the radio on. Stanley erupts from his seat and throws the radio out of the window. Seeing this, Stella, the wife, she's scared. She comes, she intervenes to make peace. But what happens? You know Stanley, he's that physical man. He hits his wife. He hits Stella. Scared, Stella and Blanche, both of them run upstairs. They are down, okay, in a flat. They run upstairs to their neighbor's house. The name of this neighbor is Eunice for safety. So after this, Stanley's friends are like, what did you do? You just hit your wife. They drench Stanley in the shower because of his, he comes back to his senses and he feels very, very mournful. He understands with regret that what he has done, he has hit his wife. He acts by shouting. Even now, he's shouting. He knows he's committed a mistake. But the rough guy shouts in heaven splitting violence, Stella! Can you imagine? He's shouting Stella, and he shouts so loudly that Stella can actually hear it from the above floor. And listening to her husband's mourn, Stella is drawn back to him. He apologizes again, not by words, but by caressing his wife gently in his arms. Mitch at this time comforts Blanche. अब मिच का क्या काम? But आंखें मिल गई हैं, आंखें चार हो गई हैं. So Mitch comforts Blanche in her distress because she also tries to act equally victimized. She also acts very scared. Oh God, what just happened? Stanley hit Stella and I'm so scared. She acts like that and Mitch comforts her. The scene changes. It is morning, the next morning. Stella is peaceful after the last night's happenings, but Blanche is hysterical. She suggests that they contact a man called Shep Huntley. Who is Shep? Blanche's ex-lover from Dallas, to help them escape from this brute like Stanley. She calls Stanley a beast, a brute. Who? Blanche. Blanche is abusing Stanley, on his back. She's telling her sister, your husband is a brute, he's a beast, how can you stand her? Come on, we should go out of here. You belong to the elite class, you do not belong to this brute, this Pollock. I will call my ex-lover Shep, he's a rich man, he will come to help us. But unluckily, Stanley overhears this conversation and it provokes his annoyance towards Blanche. Mitch and Blanche go out for a date. So now the scene is in a date, on a date. Mitch boasts of his manliness. He does nothing physical with Blanche. He's only boasting about how masculine he is. But let me tell you, he's not, okay? He's that sober and caring kind of guy. But Blanche melodramatically tells Mitch about her tragic love life. She tells everything to Mitch about her tragic past, her sordid past, her husband's suicide, her losing of her ancestral house of Belle Reve, everything she tells him. And this makes Mitch extremely uncomfortable and nervous. He thinks, oh God, I've chosen a wrong, woman. She's not worth a girlfriend. I think she has some problem. So now what happens? A month later, a month has passed in the play. A month later, it is Blanche's birthday. She is soaking in her bath, followed by perfumes, jewelry, cosmetics, white clothes while singing Paper Moon all the time. Stella is preparing for her sister's birthday party. Stanley now approaches her and confesses to his wife all about Blanche's dishonorable past. What all does Stanley tell Stella about Blanche? First, after losing Belle Reve because of her extravagant spendings, Blanche moved to a dubious Hotel Flamingo until she got kicked out from there because of her promiscuity. Third, she is not on leave from her school due to her ill health. Rather, she's been fired because of having an affair with a 17-year-old student. Listening to all this, the younger sister Stella, she defends her older sister. She's like, no, Blanche can't do that. But she's horrified when she comes to know that Blanche has herself told all these stories to Mitch. And Stanley informs her that he has got bus ticket back to Mississippi for Blanche, and they should send her back to where she belongs. She does not belong to their house. She belongs somewhere else. So now at the birthday party, Blanche senses that something is wrong, okay? Because first, Mitch does not show up, Stanley and Stella look tensed, and Stanley presents Blanche with a bus ticket, okay? Disillusioned, Blanche does not know what's happening. She storms out of the room. Stanley and Stella nearly begin a fight. Okay, after this, when Blanche, she goes away, she runs out of the room, it's her birthday. Stanley and Stella, they begin to fight. Stella is like, you should not be so rude to my sister. But she comes into labor. She goes into labor, which means the baby is on its way. The baby is coming. They have to rush to the hospital. So now Stella and Stanley have gone to the hospital. Blanche is all alone in the apartment and she is heavily drunk. Mitch enters drunk and starts abusing her for being luscious with strangers, for being a woman of bad character. He tries to be physical with her. Imagine, after abusing her, he tries to be physical with her. But then he stops himself. She cries, "Fire, fire," and he runs away. Now, later, after a lot later, Stanley comes home from the hospital to rest for a while. He's tired. The baby's still not come. He's come home just to relax before the baby comes out. Blanche is drunk. Listen to this scene. Just imagine it. She's dressed in a white evening gown. She's in her own fantasy, dreaming. She claims in front of Stanley that Mitch came back on his knees with roses to beg for forgiveness, but she did not forgive him. Stanley listens to all this and, he just shatters her story, saying, "You come in here, sprinkle the place with powder and spray perfume, and cover the light bulb with a paper lantern. And lo and behold, the place has turned into Egypt, and you are the queen of the Nile, sitting on your throne and swilling down my liquor. I say, ha, ha." He bursts out of the bathroom in his bright silk pajamas and bounces on Blanche. She resists at first, but Stanley throws her on the bed, shouting, "Tiger, tiger, drop the bottle top, drop it. We've had this date with each other from the beginning. And after this, what happens? Stanley rapes Blanche." Can you imagine? Did you just hear it? He calls Blanche tiger and says, "Drop the bottle top," which means just, leave this nonsense. We had this date, what we're doing, the physical thing from the beginning. Weeks later, now what happens on this stage, you should know it. Stella and Eunice, the neighbor, they are shown packing Blanche's bags. Stanley and his friends are playing poker casually in the kitchen. Blanche is taking a bath. Blanche did tell Stella about the rape, but Stella refused to believe. Arrangements have been made to send Blanche to a mental asylum. She's mentally disturbed. They are not sending her back to Mississippi to her old life. They are sending her to a mental asylum. But Blanche believes that Shep, her ex-lover, is coming to take her at last. Blanche appears from her bath, delusional, worrying about the cleanliness of the grapes on the table, and she's speaking about drowning in the sea. Now, a doctor and a matron, they come on the stage. They have arrived from the asylum. Blanche sweeps through the poker players. She thinks that, oh, Shep is here. She utters in a delicate manner to the men sitting, "Please don't get up. I'm only passing through." In a rough yell, Stanley speaks, "You left nothing here but split talcum and old empty perfume bottles, unless it is the paper lantern you want to take with you. You want the lantern?" Imagine. He's like taunting her. The matron literally drags Blanche out of the house. It is not Shep. She sees it. She now has to come to terms with the reality. She is being taken by a doctor. She's being taken to a mental asylum. She can't accept it still. She still is in that illusion. So the matron drags Blanche out of the house while she acts like a frightened animal trying to confront with the reality. But the doctor treats Blanche more patiently and calmly. So then she calms down and she replies to this indignity. She replies to the doctor when the doctor is treating her patiently. She says, "Whoever you are, I have always depended on the kindness of strangers." The doctor leads Blanche off stage. She's gone. Stella, holding her baby in her arms, the baby is in the house, breaks down in tears for her sister, while Stanley comforts her with loving care. And Stanley, at the end of the play on the stage, is seen pulling the paper lantern out of the light bulb. And we are done with a streetcar named Desire by Tennessee Williams. I hope you liked it. This is just the starting. We shall come up with very important capsule summaries of works based on American literature. Take care. This is Hina from Team Vallath. Bye-bye.